So for the auditing business process part 2, we'll be talking about plan to inventory, meaning from the production, planning, and control up until the conversion of the inventory from raw materials into finished goods. And in between that process, ano ba yung mga dapat nating i-consider? Like for example, of course, we don't just, produce goods, no? Of course, with the help of the machine, no? Or the plant and equipment, no, relating to production, we also consider those, no. Now with the acquired to retire, it's more of the investment. So mamaya may kita niyo yung the treasury and finance, no, and actually it is not really new to you because it was already discussed in your financial management. Pero don't worry, no, I'll be discussing each of the bulleted items na nilagay sa book, no. And lastly, we will go through the process what we call hire to retire. So meaning it is more of pag-hire ng mga employees in order to do task, no, or work, particularly also with the conversion of the raw materials into a finished good. So dito rin yan, and up until mag-retire yung employee. Okay, so yun yung i-discuss natin, the plan to inventory, no, acquire to retire, and hire to retire processes, no. So what are the objectives, no, for this session? Wait lang guys, Same with the learning objectives with the last part one, no? So for the first learning objective, we need to identify the internal controls related to plan to inventory, acquire to retire, and hire to retire business processes. So aside from yung iba sa inyo diniscuss na siguro to sa accounting information system again, ano ba yung mga internal controls na pwede nating i-put in place to help, no, achieve the goals of the organization. Okay. Second, recall the fundamental task performed, departments involved, and the documents related in these business processes. So there are some flowcharts that you'll be seeing here, just like with the part 1. I-discuss ko rin yan. Okay. So number 3, determine the risk associated with these processes. So definitely risk is inevitable. It is present in any scenario, no, given that we are operating in a business. Maraming kinakaharap na positive or negative event yan, no. We will consider also the risk. Okay, for the fourth one, enumerate the best practices in the processes. So we have discussed here, no, we need to identify the internal control. So masasabi natin din na ang internal controls would be also considered as one of the best practices in the process that we should be employing, no. Okay, number 5, we need to recommend the business process improvement initiatives to bridge the current state of the process to a desired future state. And lastly, lay down a simple but comprehensive implementation plan for the recommendations proposed. So just like also with the last discussion that we have with part 1, no, nasabi ko rin sa learning objective, you'll be having a case study which you will present, no. I think in this November, no, isaset pa namin ni Sir Mark, and yun yung i-cover natin sa bullets 5 and 6 for these learning objectives. Okay, for both parts 1 and 2. Okay, now with the outline of the business process, since tatlo ang ating process na kino-consider, ito yung mga subcomponent na i-discuss natin, no. Medyo marami sa hire to retire, no. With the conversion and production, or what we call the plan to inventory, we'll be covering planning and production control, okay, inventory, facilities, plant, and equipment. Okay, now with the acquire to retire, or also known as the investing and financing, so we'll be focusing on investments, the treasury function, bank accounts, and banking arrangements. So from lahat ng process na involve relating to the finance and investing, i-cover din natin. Okay, now the last one will be your hire to retire, or also called as the human resources / personnel and payroll. It talks about the welfare and benefit of the people that the company hired, no, for a certain task. So anong inclusion ito? We have here the personnel, the recruitment, training and development, employee benefits, employee termination, employee evaluations, and payroll. So medyo malawak to. Pero each of this subcomponent i-discuss natin. And each of these subcomponents has their own what you call this risk, controls, and detailed issues, which will later on will tackle. Okay? So for the first process, we'll go through the what we call the plan to inventory process. So in here, tawag dito, the production cycle is a recurring set of business activities and the related data processing operations associated with the manufacture of product. So lahat ng process with regard to manufacturing the product, even from tawag dito, well, basically ano yung natutunan natin last time, di ba? We need to uh, fill out a purchase requisition. Pero before that, no, saan nanggaling yung yung pag-trigger ng purchase requisition. Of course, pwede nating i-relate to doon sa ating inventory levels, 'di ba? If the inventory level goes below the reorder point, yun yung magti-trigger na dapat na tayong mag-purchase. However, yung sinasabi nating inventory level, it emanates from planning. Okay? So there are four basic activities in the production cycle actually. We have there the product design, planning and scheduling, production operations, and cost accounting. So familiar yung cost accounting. Pero most likely we'll be talking about planning and scheduling, no? An entity's conversion cycle encompasses the production of finished goods for sale. So meaning talaga naman ano ba yung end or ang outcome ng process na to? The finished goods which will be good for sale. Okay? This cycle includes production planning and control of the types and quantities of goods to be manufactured, no? And in here we need to maintain the inventory levels, no, based from the planning and the transaction events pertaining to the manufacturing process. Transactions in this cycle begin at the point where raw materials are requisitioned. So meaning after the planning, no, there's a requisition of the raw materials. Yun yung start, right, no, dun sa pag order natin ng raw materials, and ang end to is will be the transfer of the goods or the product to the finished goods, which will be good for sale to the customer. Okay, in the traditional manufacturing environment, inventories is used to reduce or eliminate back orders. Okay, so the goal in the traditional environment is to minimize the cost of holding inventory and the cost of ordering, no, sa economic order quantity natin. Okay, no, in a world-class manufacturing environment, the just-in-time or the JIT inventory system is often implemented. I think with your cost accounting, na-discuss na rin just-in-time. When I say just-in-time, there is a consideration of what we call the lead time, no? We consider the lead time in the order point. So meaning kapag nag-reach na tong level na to, kinonsider na dyan yung lead time, meaning from the time of placing the order up until the receipt of the order, kinonsider yun doon. Such that, kapag dumating yung inventory, saktong-sakto paubos na inventory. No, that is what we call the JIT. JIT is actually applicable in Japan. In the Philippines, meron din, pero these are, well, dapat kasi ang supply mo guaranteed yan na there is no delay, no? However, in the Philippines medyo may traffic, so hindi siya ideal. However, there are some what we call this one setup wherein it is possible through what we call the vertical integration wherein what do you call this one, horizontal integration, wherein the manufacture of supplies are all located in one area. So nandun lang sila, isang lang sila, tawag doon yung compound, no? Pwede yun. You can implement a JIT. So make sure lang at the start of the process, no, at the start of the supplying company, kailangan guaranteed yung supplies mo doon. And then the rest, no, will be good, no. Pwede naman ng GIT sa atin. Pero given that if you have a supplier coming from different parts of the Philippines, medyo mahirap talaga tong GIT. Okay? Inventories are kept to a absolute minimum given in the GIT. It is not really what you call this one, guaranteed na upon the receipt of the ordered goods, magzi-zero inventory. Syempre, may mga ano tayo dyan, may mga along the way, may mga obstacles. So, talagang may times na baka even after the inventory went to zero, wala pa yung inventory. So, there is an idle time. Okay? So, I think sana na-discuss sa inyo yung what we call the idle time, yung iniiwasan natin. Diba? Remember, idle time is also considered in one of the 8 areas of waste. Okay? So, in here, inventories arrive in small quantities from vendors several times per day. Inventory is under GIT is pulled, no, through the manufacturing process. There are no batches of partially completed products throughout the production process. No? Sorry. The GIT inventory concept assumes that there are zero defects, zero setup time, small lot sizes, zero inventories, zero lead time, and reliable vendors. Okay? So, yun. Okay? So, that is for the GIT. Now, for the production planning and control, what do you call this one? Kinuha ko to, no, from the accounting information system, and hopefully, no, maalala nyo pa. Okay? Now, let's start with explaining the 4 departments. So, we have here the production planning and control. We have the work centers. Then, we have the storekeeping and the inventory control. Now, with the production planning and control, ang start nito is actually the marketing group. Okay? The marketing group, they set the sales forecast. Okay? And based from the sales forecast, remember your sales forecast can come from different sources, no? It can be from historical, it can be historical information, no, or from that historical information, what are the trends and pattern, and it can also come from anticipated orders from prospect customers, no? Kung may mga bago tayong customers, no, we should also consider it in the sales forecast. Now, that sales forecast will be considered in assessing the inventory requirements. Given that we have the sales forecast for each of the product demanded from the customers, we also have what we call the bill of materials. When you say bill of materials, these are your in one product, ano yung composition ng raw material, how many hours yung required, and what are the overhead costs to be considered in the bill of material. The bill of material only include the material, na medyo nagano ako doon, lumagpas ako doon sa labor and overhead. Hindi kasama ang labor and overhead. It's just only the composition of materials in producing one unit of product. So that is the BOM. Okay? Now with the route sheet, given that you have different processes and departments possibly, so dapat saan siya dadaan. So you need to have that kind of route sheet. Okay? Now, through this requirements, no, given also, we should also consider yung inventory status, no, coming from the inventory control, and some engineering specs from the engineering department. We can now create what we call the purchase requisition, no. This purchase requisition will be forwarded to the purchasing department, no, and then meron tayong on page connector dito, and dito siya napunta sa inventory control. Now, with the documents such as the BOM and the route sheet, it will be there will be a preparation of what we call production control documents. Okay? So, yun, with the production control documents, there will be a production, or dapat meron tayong ma-produce a document, what we call the work order, the move ticket, and the material requirement, no. Now, also we have here the production schedule, no, for each of the planned production for the year, and this production schedule will be filed in an open work order. When you say open work orders, these are work orders, meaning for a certain period of time, ito yung dapat gawin nating mga job orders, or produce na units of product within that certain period, dito muna siya. Okay? Now, with the production schedule together with the work orders, move tickets, material requirement, it will be forwarded to the work center. In other words, our work center is also your production. Okay? Now, also, balik tayo dito, okay? So, yung work order, no, dapat may copy ang cost accounting. Okay? And then, it should also be filed in the open work orders din. Okay? If hindi na siya open work order, meaning na fulfill na yung production na within that certain period, it will now be considered a closed out order file. Or, sorry, closed out open work order file. So, medyo mahaba siya. Pero, in other words, this is your closed work order file. Okay? So, now with the work center, the production, given that the production planning and control forwarded these documents such as the work order, the move tickets, the material requirements, and the production schedule, they will now initiate what we call the production activities upon the receipt of these control documents. Okay? And of course, we need, with that control documents, yung forward ng production planning and control, we need to prepare timekeeping documents and distribute documents to the user. Okay? Now, ayan, medyo marami itong work centers, no? Maraming ipaprocess dito. First, unahin muna natin dito. Now, with the job time tickets, no? Remember, with your job order, may tinatawag tayong job time ticket. So, meaning, in every job order, ilan yung hours na spent ng assembly worker in terms of labor hours. Okay? Okay? So, now, with the job time tickets, no? Isa-summarize yan. And there will be a payroll time card for each employee. And each payroll time card will be forwarded to the payroll for processing the payment to the employee. Now, a copy of the job time tickets will also be forwarded to the cost accounting. Okay? So, before the cost accounting can create entries, no, in here we have here an on-page connector coming from C. So, meaning from the move tickets. So, there should be a reconciliation of the job time tickets with the move tickets. Okay, when I say move tickets, this is the movement of one unit of or one batch of product or sabihin na natin batch, no? Saying that this batch of processed products or hindi pa complete na processed goods ay parang ito kasi yung masasabi nating authorized document, no, or authorization document saying that this partially completed goods is now okay for the next department. So yun yung move tickets, and that should be also forwarded to the cost accounting for proper recording. Kasi remember, the transfer of one product from one department to another department will be considered a reclassification of work in process. Remember, di ba, may ganun tayo. Okay? And of course, yung ating yung ating production schedule, kung tapos na siya, remember, it will be forwarded to the production planning and control to say that the work order is now complete. No, but before that, the work order will be forwarded to the what we call this, the PG warehouse, no, and another to another department, what we call the inventory control. So mamaya di-discuss ko yan, no. Okay, now with the material requirements together with some reports such as the excess materials and material returns, it will be forwarded to the storekeeping. Okay, now with the material requirements, with the excess materials, with the material returns, the storekeeping will issue raw materials to work centers in exchange for material requisition. So meaning guys, before ma-process yung goods, no, medyo nahuli to, no, tawag dito, the storekeeping will issue the goods to the production. So tandaan nyo guys, ha, remember your cost accounting na lagi nasasabi yon na kapag we mentioned there that we issue goods to the production, meaning the storekeeping, before they can issue, dapat they have this documents no? For material requirements, no? Ito yung initially sinet nating requirement na materials for certain work order. Okay? And then if ever may mga return, may mga excess materials, dapat accounted din ni storekeeping. Okay? So now, actually, ang assumption natin dito, dapat yung goods forward na kay work center. Okay? Now, these documents, no, we have 2 copies, no? 3 copies each of the excess materials, material returns, and material requirements. 1 copy should be filed in this department, and 2 copies should be forwarded to the inventory control. Okay? So, let's go back again to the work center. So, na-issue na yung production, and then, na-issue na yung goods sa production, and then nag-work na yung mga laborers, no? Na-account na as direct labor. And of course, may mga overhead costs dito. Most likely, dapat yung ating move ticket together with the work order, no, coming from here, dapat magbanggain together with the production schedule. If finish na yung good, dapat maging close work order file. Meaning na fulfill na yung work order na yon. Okay? So, sana naintindihan nyo, no? So, now we go to the inventory control. Actually, the inventory control, one of its function is actually to what? To check the inventory status. So, titingnan yung review records from the master file of materials inventory record. So, remember, kapag yung ating inventory level goes below the reorder point, that's the time na magsasend ng inventory status, inventory control dito kay production planning and control for the assessment of the inventory requirements. Okay? So, dun talaga actually nag-trigger din yan, no? Okay. Now, with the inventory control, remember, forward, ni storekeeping yung 2 copies of these documents to this department, no? The inventory control. Why? There should be what we call an update of the inventory records. Why? Kasi remember, the storekeeping issue, what? The goods. Okay, so dapat there should be updating of the inventory records. Ang assumption natin dito, dapat mabawasan ng balanse. And saan siya nire-record? Sa materials inventory records, no? Parehas lang yan actually. Okay, so dito kasi ang ginamit yung record to check the balance of the inventory. Dito, updating. Okay, now, the 2 copies of the materials, of the documents, no, one is forwarded to the cost accounting for recording. Now, remember, this is a subsidiary ledger for the inventory, while for cost accounting, it's more of recording it in the general ledger. Another copy will be filed into the inventory control. Okay? Now, together with some documents coming from some of the departments, such as yung A, di ba? Ito, the purchase requisition coming from the production planning and control, and also with the updating of the inventory records coming from B, no? Etong work order na to, it should be filed together with these 3 documents. And after updating the inventory records, no, meaning tapos na siguro yung pag-convert natin ng raw materials into a finished good, there should be a update of the finished goods inventory. Okay? And eto, no, of course, yung journal vouchers, ang assumption dito, coming from inventory control. Sila yung gumawa nito to update the general ledger. Okay? So, forward yan, no? Of course, i-review yan ni GL team, no, together with some of the documents before it can be recorded to the general ledger. Okay? So, hopefully na-understand yung buong planning, production, and control, no? If you want to have a review of what are the documents relating to the route sheet, bill of material, work order, move tickets, material requirements, X materials, material returns, no? And of course, work order, nandun yan sa accounting information system. Okay? It's a review of your process in the AIS. Okay? So after discussing the process, what are the control objectives for planning, production, and control? So number 1 is to ensure that the production and the manufacturing requirements are accurately determined authorized, effectively communicated, and suitably planned for. So, lahat naman talaga, no, when we set requirements for the production, dapat talaga there is an authorization from the appropriate personnel, no, and it should be communicated effectively, meaning all of the departments involved, pwedeng engineering, pwedeng marketing, pwede ring teams from, pwede ring management team, they could have a collaboration or a talk with regard to how many production of inventories will there be for a year, okay? And dapat suitably planned for. So meaning all of the factors should be considered, such as trends, no? Yun naman lagi no? Kung meron tayong trends for the year, that should be factored in, no, doon sa ating planning. Okay? Second, to ensure that adequate facilities and resources are made available at the appropriate time in order to meet the agreed production and manufacturing obligation. So, ito yung sinasabi natin, no, dapat available yung facilities and resources. Now, with the resources, masasabi natin ito yun, no, yung ating raw materials. Dapat, sa storekeeping, may enough level of materials tayo that should be issued to the production during the process. Okay? So, dapat hindi tayo nawawalan ng tawag dito, nagra-round out ng stocks or what we call the stock outs. Iniwasan natin yan. Okay? Pwede din naman tayong JIT. Pero, supposedly, dapat perfect yung conditions, no, na meet mo yon. Dapat walang aberya pag nagpapa-order ka ng goods, walang traffic, kasi if there are any obstacles along the way, no, might possibly you consider lead time. Okay? Now, with the facilities that we are referring here is actually the equipment. No, dapat if you are using a machine, dapat it is in good condition. Or kung hindi man in good condition, dapat upon the production of the goods, dapat readily available siya. Okay? Third control objective is to ensure that the required quantity of products is manufactured to the required quality standards. Ito applicable to dun sa mga company na may sinasabi sila na we are producing quality goods. Okay? So, dapat kung ano yung premise natin with our customers, lalo na if you have commercials, no, dapat we keep our quality as promised, no, sa ating representation. Okay? So, required quantity meaning to maintain a quality, kina-count in din yung factor na quantity, meaning siguro pwedeng ganito yung explanation din dito, no. For example, if we are a company, construction tayo so gumagawa tayo ng mga concrete materials, so meaning mga cements, di ba? And there are certain mix of cement, so meaning yung mga graba, yung ating mga tawag dito, yung ating mga buhangin, yung ating concrete mix, dapat may may precise measurement to satisfy some quality standards. If you want our concrete to be of good quality standard, dapat masunod yung required quantity. Otherwise, if not, so meaning konti lang yung ating less than yung na lagay nating materials as inputs, most likely the quality will be compromised. Okay? So, yun yung mga ganung instances applicable to sa number 3. Okay. With number 4, to ensure that the actions of all affected departments and functions are adequately coordinated to achieve the defined objectives. So, dapat katulad kanina, no, we have planning and tawag doon, itong mga departments ito. We have here the production planning and control, the work centers or the production itself, the storekeeping and inventory control. They should be well coordinated. Okay, kasi we have defined already an objective. So, dapat, in order to achieve that objective, all affected departments should have their own role to play, no? So, dapat the role that they are playing should be well coordinated with each other. Okay? Next is to ensure that the production resources and facilities are efficiently utilized, and that waste is avoided and minimized. So remember the word cost effectiveness. So if we have purchased the inventory or a facility, it should be well used, no? So meaning dapat hindi siya na idle, yung iniiwasan natin dito. And if we are to avoid this kind of idle, no, we are avoiding what? Do waste, or we are minimizing it. Okay? Next is to ensure that the necessary production equipment is fully operational and operated efficiently. Okay, so dapat yung ating equipment, no, may taong may specialized skills in really operating that machine in order to produce products. Okay, so dapat aside from that, there should be a preventive maintenance. So you all know the preventive maintenance, di ba? So in order to avoid some tawag dito inefficiencies in the future dahil nasira ang ating equipment, might as well na ma-deploy natin yung preventive maintenance. So ibig sabihin, there are some regular check-ups on the condition of the equipment, no? At kung meron siyang condition na kailangan na nating i-maintain, then there should be a plan, no? There should be a regular preventive maintenance, no? Para at least to satisfy the concern of this control objective to be, that the production equipment should be what? Fully operational, and it can be operated efficiently. Okay? So the next control objective is to ensure that production staff are suitably trained and experienced in order to maximize their contribution. So itong assumption natin, no, sa ano na to, sa hire and retire. So doon si HR, hinire niya na yung mga tao or worker who are well suited for that work, no? Now, given that they have this skills and experience, we need to what? Train them further, no? And if ever, no, we need to maximize the skills that they have for that skill to be para makakapag-contribute sa pag-produce ng product. Kasi parang it will be useless, no, if HR have already employed that person for that certain skill, and then come production hindi siya nagamit, no? So hindi na ma-maximize yung contribution ng person na yon in really producing the product. Okay? Next is to ensure that the production downtime is minimized, suitably monitored, and reacted to. So, ito yung iniiwasan natin, yung production downtime. Lalo na, connected dun sa una ko sinabi kanina, na kapag walang preventive maintenance, there is a possibility of what we call downtime, or magkakaroon ng idle time. So, sayang yung, connected siya, no? Sayang yung pag-maximize ng skill ng tao to contribute to the production of the product. Okay, so connected siya, no? Okay, so dapat minimize natin yung downtime na yon. And when you say suitably monitored, there should be a regular checkup of the condition of the machine, no? Lalo na kung siya ay no, hindi na siya nagfo-function well, no, and wala tayong monitoring, hindi natin na-achieve yung ganitong control objective. So there should be a regular checkup of the facilities or the machine related to the production. Okay? And dapat nag-react tayo, meaning nakita na nating sira yung machine, then wala tayong ginawa, then it is not a good control also. Okay? So dapat there should be an action after that exception na nakita sa condition ng ating machine. Okay? The next one is to ensure that all materials, resources, and finished goods are accurately accounted for. So meaning dapat may monitoring tayo ng galaw ng inventory, ng quantity ng inventory for us to properly account it, no? So meaning kunwari pinasok nating ang raw materials is 10, and ang assumption natin, each unit of raw material will give you one output of product. So, dapat kung 10 input yan, ilan yung output mo? Dapat 10. Dapat well accounted for yan. So, yun yung assumption natin kapag natapos yung lahat ng products na yun sa production. What if hindi? Let's say, for example, we have, the storekeeping issued 20 raw material items, no? And bawat item isang unit yun, ha? At the end of the period, may na-account na 10 finished goods, 2 work in process, and 8 raw materials. Properly accounted ba siya? The answer is yes. Kasi before the production, we have 20 raw material items, and our premise is that each unit of the raw material can give you 1 unit of output. Now, in-account natin, we have accounted 10 units of finished goods, okay? And then 2 units of work in process and 8 units of raw material units. So, ang total nun is 20. Is it properly accounted for? The answer is yes. So, that's where accounting or cost accounting comes in. Okay? Next, we need to ensure that the production activities are effectively monitored, reported to management, and shortfalls and problems are promptly detected and resolved. So, more on pagtingin sa work orders, no, sa production schedule, kung talaga bang effectively na monitor to. So, meaning, kung may open work orders tayo, and tapos na yung kanyang production schedule, dapat closed work order na siya. Okay, so dapat it should be monitored at that level. And if there are any shortfalls or problems, no, kunwari, there is a abnormal spoilage, it should be reported to the management, lalo na kung significant, no? Pero kung normal namang spoilage yan, okay lang yun, no? Kasi sinet naman na policy yun. Okay? Next, hindi lang sa inventory na, pwede rin sa machine, no? Kung meron tayong nakitang any shortfall, hindi natapos yung production dahil nag-breakdown yung machine, it should be reported to the management as well. Okay? Next is to ensure that all relevant legislation, health and safety, and other regulations are complied with, no? Hindi complied with, sorry for the typo, no? Meaning, aside from producing those goods, we should also take into consideration yung regulation. So, baka mamaya yung ating goods, hindi naman pala siya good sa health ng tao, may mga waste tayo nilalabas from the facility, dapat tinitreat yun, no? Accordingly sa health and safety regulations na meron tayo sa Philippines. Okay? Next, we need to ensure that the actual production plant efficiency and performance are adequately monitored for management information and action. When we say management information and action, pag board meeting or management meeting, dapat nire-report yung any of the performance during the period or during the month, and if there are any lapses between what is set in the budget versus the actual, meaning hindi natin na-meet, or kung expense siya, meaning na-exceed natin yung budget sa actual, versus actual, then there should be an appropriate plan of action. Okay, so dapat mino-monitor din yung ating performance and efficiency. Okay? So, kanina, diniscuss natin yung control objectives. Now, we go to the typical controls for planning, production, and control. So, yung typical control, no, na mention na naman natin to kanina, the sales forecast and performance, which are monitored closely and inform production decision. So actually, really, the driving force in the planning stage of the production is the sales forecast. So dapat mino-monitor din yan. Kasi it's possible that it can change over time. Okay? And yung performance or yung actual performance versus the forecast, dapat mino-monitor din yan. So why is there any gap between the actual and the forecast? So there should be a reason behind, no? And kunwari nakita natin na medyo na shortfall tayo, or we are not following, or we are not going beyond the the forecast, there should be a production decision for this one. So baka mamaya need natin mag-adjust ng ating production based from the actual performance versus the sales forecast. Dapat inform din yung work center. Okay? Next, the activities of all the affected functions are coordinated to achieve the objectives defined. So, dapat lahat, ito yung sinasabi natin, no? Yung dapat well-coordinated yung each of the department for the whole, what do you call this one, the plan to inventory process will work. Okay, kasi kunwari, there are some processes that are not aligned with the overall objective. So, how would you expect na parang there will be a proper coordination among the departments? So, baka mamaya, yung isa nagpo-produce ng, kunwari, nasa production schedule, dapat 10 yung units na ipoproduce, pero iba yung ginawa ni work center, 12. So, there's already a problem with coordination. So, dapat iniwasan natin yan. Okay? So, yung mga tipong ganun. Okay? So, next, all intellectual properties and assets are protected from exploitation by others. So, lalo na if we have patented na machines, no, in producing that product, dapat lahat yung protected from exploitation. So, meaning from possibly, no, revealing the patent, no, kung ano yung program, dapat protected yan. So, there should be a access control, no, there should be a security to ensure that all personnel going from and to the production are well monitored. Okay? Lalo na kung ang product na yun medyo secret yung recipe. Let's say for example si KFC, secret recipe yung kanilang flour, no, in really fry in that is used in frying their chicken. So yun, dapat yung intellectual property na yun dapat protected from exploitation. Okay? Bakit ina-explain? Possibly for personal gain or financial gain of a person, no? Iniiwasan natin yun. Okay? Next control is maintenance schedules have been implemented and follow, and preventive action is taken when needed. This is in relation sa minention ko na dapat the facility is operating effectively. So dapat readily available din siya. For us to avoid this breakdown of machine, there should be maintenance schedule. So meaning, ulitin ko, dapat may schedule of kunwari kung sino mang person yung pwede mag-check ng condition ng machine. Kasi baka mamaya declining na yung kanyang condition. So might as well perform preventive maintenance. So pwedeng baguhin yung mga pyesa sa loob, pwedeng i-overhaul, no, lalo na kung ang machine ay masyado ng depreciated very well. Mali yung term, no? Depreciated very well. Yung tipong yung gamit na. Okay, so there could be a possible way for us to pahabain yung buhay ng machine. So through preventive maintenance. So possibly naman hindi siya preventive maintenance pala, no. Kunwari, lalo na kung mapaprolong yung estimated useful life niya, then remember that the cost is a capitalized cost, no. Okay? So hindi talaga siya preventive maintenance, more of really improving the conditions, no. Ang sinasabi natin dito sa maintenance schedule, more of maintaining the condition of the machine. Okay? Next, metrics are captured, analyzed, and used to monitor and improve production practices, no. So dapat there should be metrics. When I say metrics, there should be a readily available information. Ilan na yung pinaprocess ni work center 1, no, let's say for example ni department 1, department 2, department 3. So dapat na mo monitor 'yon for us to have a capture of that information and to monitor, no, kung ano yung tawag dito yung production natin, kung nasa ang percentage of completion na tayo. Okay? Next, production procedures and trainings are provided to workers. So dapat naman talaga we give them trainings for those who are kunwari assembly workers who are transforming the the raw materials into a finished good. Kasi if walang training and walang production procedures, how would they know, no, i-convert yung raw material into a finished good? So dapat meron training. No, let's say for example, kahit sabihin natin na nagma-manufacture lang tayo ng simpleng produkto, let's say for example, we are repacking, there should still be a training. Of course, there should be a I mean, in terms of quality, there should be tawag dito, a right amount of volume for each of the pack goods, no? So hindi pa tayo pwedeng lumagpas doon sa standard weight or below the standard weight, kasi kung hindi, of course it will compromise the quality of the organization's products. Okay, so in here, also floor layout, production flows, and materials used are examined periodically to identify improvement opportunity. So ito more of design layout na. Kasi it's possible na as time goes by, no, there could be possibly a removal of process, an addition of the process, might as well it will have a foot what do you call this, a foot traffic during the production process. So iniiwasan natin na parang instead of having a smooth flow of transferring the goods from one place to another place, baka mamaya medyo chaotic siya. Meaning, baka mamaya yung pag-design mo ng layout, hindi siya like very ideal na yung last process na andun sa malapit sa unang location. I mean, yung location niya malapit sa first process, 'di ba? So baka mamaya hindi siya magandang tignan, no? And at the same time, hindi siya efficient for the workers to transform that raw materials into a finished good. No? Baka magkanda gulo-gulo, no? So dapat kino-consider din natin yung improvement opportunities for the layout of the floor, no, or the production design. Okay? Okay, now the last control would be will be safety protocols and instructional materials are in place. Example, material safety data sheets and use of safety equipment. So everywhere we work, no, lalo na kung medyo hazardous yung working environment, dapat talaga meron tayong mga safety protocols and possibly yung paraphernalias, no. Dapat nakasuot tayo ng helmet or ng cloth apparel, lalo na if we are working in an environment na there is what do you call this one, medyo need ng grease, no? So dapat gagamit tayo ng shoes na anti-grease. So ako na-experience ko nung nag-audit ako before sa isang manufacturing wherein they are manufacturer of what do you call this one, the hubs and yung yung gulong ng Yamaha, ng Honda. So very greasy yung floor, so dapat nagsuot kami ng shoe na iniiwasan kaming madulas. At the same time, nagsuot kami ng helmet and ng cloth apparel. So that is a safety protocol. No, it will depend on the, of course, yung sa working environment. Kung siya ay purely paperwork lang like in audit firm, so most likely yung safety protocol is that there should be a readily available helmet in place in case of earthquake. There should be fire exit. There should be fire extinguisher near the flammable materials. So mga tipong ganun, no? Dapat may safety protocols tayo. Okay. So the next one, what are the key risks for for planning, production, and control? So the number one would be strategic business objectives fail to meet what? Organizational objectives such as the deadlines, profitability, and market share. So ito yung risk na kinatatakutan natin, yung hindi natin ma-meet yung organizational objective. Kasi remember that as a point of view ng audit client, kung tayo ay management, we want to have that kind of trust given to us by that given by the investors na ma-fulfill natin kung ano yung sinet nilang objective. Of course, most likely yung objective is to give them profit. Kung hindi natin nami-meet yun, no, we fail the organization in meeting the objectives. So most likely, anong risk na pwedeng kaharapin ng management? Matanggal sila, di ba? Remember, they can be replaced easily if they are not functioning well. Okay? So of course, isang effect yun. Pero ang risk talaga nun, the organization, will they be sustainable? Diba? Of course, hindi. Kung hindi natin na-meet yung mga required profit. Okay? So, we also have here the intellectual property properties are abused by others. So ito yung sinasabi natin, no? So, dapat yung ating mga intellectual properties such as patent, copyright, no, trademark, no, dapat it has a well-suited controls in place. Kasi kung wala, it can be abused by others for their own personal gain. Okay? Next, product launch is ill-timed or otherwise ineffective. So when you say product launch, tawag dito, kunwari, if you have new product, dapat very timely siya, not ill-timed. Meaning, baka mamaya, yung product na pinalan yung i-release for 1 year, na-release ng 2 years. So, baka mamaya hindi na relevant yung product. So, that deadline or planning the launch of the new product should be well prepared or well planned, no? Dapat may monitoring in process, no? So, yun yung isa sa mga key risk natin. Also, one of the key risk is delays, miscommunication, and inefficiency surface due to a lack of coordination with other affected functions such as the manufacturing, the inventory, the sales, the marketing, and customer service. Also, we include here yung kaninang work center, of course, with the storekeeping. No? Iba pa siya sa inventory. Okay? So, yung inventory dito is also inventory control. So, yan talaga, risk yan, no? Kung there is a delay or miscommunication or inefficiencies among the function. No? Kasi kung meron, it will have an issue. Okay, so kanina na-mention ko na siya, right? So next, employees are inconsistent when performing their duties or take longer than necessary to do so. So ito yung mga risk na kapag wala tayong training or wala tayong production procedures. Okay? Next, useful suggestions from the quality control departments are not needed. So, of course, with the quality control department, they ensure that the products that we produce pass a certain standard or quality. Ngayon, kung hindi natin siya take in consideration kung ano yung pwedeng maging recommendation or suggestion from the QC or the quality control, baka kasi in the long run, same problems or issue ang makikita natin with producing the products. Okay, so that is also a key risk. Next, present manufacturing methods are outdated, inefficient, or otherwise ineffective. So meaning, kung hindi tayo nag-benchmark ng ating manufacturing methods, given na medyo nagda-drive talaga ng technology ang bago natin ang ating processes, most likely ma-phase out yung mga products natin, just like what happened with Nokia. Okay, I think familiar naman kayo with Nokia. Okay, next, equipment breakdown is excessive. So possibly when we have excessive equipment breakdown, most likely you're not doing preventive maintenance, walang monitoring in place na tinitingnan, and that is a key risk. Diba? Remember, if you have a breakdown of equipment, it will really halt the operations or the production. And it will result to a lot of cost na hindi natin nagamit ng maigi or na-maximize. Okay? Next, production facilities are uncomfortable or unsafe for workers, such as too hot, no, or cold, humid, or noisy, or there is a poor ventilation, inadequate emergency exits, risk of bodily harm due to fire, explosion, or contamination. So, dapat talaga safe yung ating working environment for the employees, not only the employees but also to to the environment. Okay? So, dapat, lalo na kung we are, machine intensive yung isang organization sa pag-produce ng product. So, dapat tinitake into consideration yung temperature ng machine. So, dapat kung medyo nag-ooperate yung production facility sa Philippines, dapat medyo ini-aircon na natin yung ating facility. Okay? So, let's say for example, also with sa servers, no, yung ating mga computers na nasa let's say for example, sa Canada, sa Greenland, kung saan medyo malamig, dapat there is a right temperature of cold. So, hindi pwedeng too cold. Baka mamaya pag too cold, medyo pumasok na yung ice, no, or yung water sa ating mga magnetic disk or sa ating server. Yun yung iniwasan natin. Okay, so when you say poor ventilation, possibly wala exhaust fan, yung working condition ng mga assembly workers medyo affected dahil mainit, di ba? Dapat well ventilated siya. Okay? In case also of a production wherein medyo known ang gumagamit ng fire no for cooking, dapat meron tayong mga emergency exits marami. Now, for those companies, let's say for example, you are working in a service type industry, let's say for example, you're a lawyer, an accountant, or an engineer, most likely hindi naman ganun karaming emergency exits, pero dapat meron. That is a requirement, no, for us to avoid the risk of casualties, no. Okay, so a next set of key risks is also included here. The unit focuses on short-term goals at the expense of longer-term priorities. So ito yung tinatawag nating tawag to, di ba may tinatawag tayong goal congruence. So dapat yung goal ng isang unit consistent sa overall objective or strategic objective ng organization. So kung hindi sila aligned, no, most likely we are not helping the organization in fulfilling or achieving its objective. And yung pag-fulfill natin ng another goal or yung short-term goal natin at the expense of the long-term priorities is also not following the goal congruence mindset. Okay? Next, cost considerations are not fully explored, such as in here, the size of production runs is inefficient. Okay? So meaning baka mamaya kasi you are producing more than what is required. Okay, and hindi mo na fully utilize yung tinatawag nating economies of scale. So meaning if you're producing more, no, hindi naman ibig sabihin na magpo-produce ka ng overruns o yung mga nasa surplus, no. Dapat, I mean, it will depend on the company, no. If they are going to profit more in producing that good, no, yung overrun, then okay. Ang problem natin with the overrun, these are the goods that are produced over demand. Baka kasi hindi mabili. Pero if you are going to sell it at a surplus shop, dapat hindi ka lugi, hindi ka rin sobrang hindi ka lugi in a way na kung bibenta mo siya ng mahal, lugi ka kasi hindi mo siya na-convert or na-realize into a cash, no. Of course, if you're going to sell it, dapat bawi yung cost, no, and if possible, dapat may konting cut or profit man lang. Okay, so dapat tingnan natin din yun. Okay, next, new facilities and equipment are purchased when production issues are related to the process or the people. Okay, ibig sabihin okay, dapat kung bibili tayo ng equipment, no, it should consider also yung would you just repair it, no, for maintenance? Baka kasi mas okay siya na ganun yung gastos, or baka kasi mamaya repair ka ng repair, better na bumili ka na lang ng equipment, no. You should also consider this factor, no, and it's a key risk, no. Dapat kung bibili ka, alam mong dapat i-replace na yung old equipment. Okay, at hindi na siya madadaan sa repair, no. Kung i-repair, parang as good as lagi ka nagpapa-repair, parang bumili ka rin ng bagong equipment. So that is a key risk, no. Okay. Next, production scheduling is informal and inefficient. When I say is informal, it's possible oral lang siya. So hindi siya like we have a document relating to production schedule. Kasi kung may formal document tayo, then we can be efficient in monitoring the progress of that work order, no, or the set of work orders within that production schedule. Okay. Next, the layout of work facilities does not fit the normal flow of work. So it is more on related din sa kaninang layout this or design layout natin. So dapat may flow o normal flow of work, or tinatawag natin dapat may smooth flow of work. Dapat tuloy-tuloy. Hindi yung ang gulo-gulo ng layout mo. Kunwari, yung isang process mo na andun sa kunwari sa square siya, no, nandun siya sa lower left, no. Pagdating ng process 1 na yung goods natin dapat dapat yung transit niya pa diagonal papuntang upper right. So parang hindi siya normal workflow. So as much as possible, 'di ba, may mga rule tayo diyan, no, depende kung ano yung i-deploy nating method, pero most likely maganda diyan kunwari isang line of work lang siya. Dapat hindi yung paligoy-ligoy. Okay? Next, materials are unavailable when needed. Ito yung isa rin sa kinatatakutan natin. No, yung kapag kunwari kailangan na ng raw materials for production, wala tayong material, so makakalt yung production natin. Sayang yung mga resources na binabayaran natin. Okay? So, isang key risk yan. Next, materials awaiting process are stolen, damaged, or impaired. So, as much as possible, dapat what? May controls tayo na in place na, may security guard tayo, and dapat chine-check every now and then yung condition din ng ating mga goods, no? Baka kasi mamaya slow-moving items siya na tipong hindi na siya or nagkaroon ng inventory obsolescence. So, damaged na siya or impaired na siya. Okay, so dapat kino-consider din yun kasi baka mamaya luma na yung material, hindi na siya maganda for production. So, dapat hindi siya, dapat nililesen natin siya through monitoring. Okay? Then we also have production methods result in excessive waste, delays, bottlenecks, and emergency jobs. So, dapat yung production method natin, dapat talaga may quality control. Kung wala, it will result sa mga waste, delays, bottlenecks, and emergency jobs. So, iniiwasan natin yung reworks, no? Iniiwasan natin dapat yung mga production method na magkakaroon ng bottleneck. Let's say, for example, hindi magugo isang process kapag hindi kompleto yung, no, parang naka-FIFO siya, hindi maka-complete yung unang product na pinaprocess. So, pwedeng gawin, i-set aside mo na yung problematic na isang unit of product, and then i-resume or i-process natin yung mga succeeding tawag dito, work in progress units. Okay, yung mga tipong ganun. Okay? So, dapat iniwasan natin yung mga bottlenecks o yung nagko-cause ng delay or ng problems, no? Kaya hindi tayo makausad doon sa ating production schedule. Okay? Next, spoiled materials are not reused, recycled, disposed of in the most inefficient dispose of in the most inefficient manner. So, kung may mga spoiled materials tayo na hindi ni-recycle, kung pwede namang i-dispose siya ng properly, or kung siya ay tipong waste na hindi natin matitreat, dapat there should be a proper protocol for that. So, dapat sinusunod natin. If not, it is a key risk. Okay? So, second to the last, no, workers get hurt while working. So, kung na-hurt lagi sila, kunwari lagi silang kakaroon ng paso, or nagkakaroon ng kunwari may napipilayan, no, that is a key risk, no, kasi remember that the working conditions of these employees are also reported, I think, with DOLE. Kasi if excessive na yung mga workers, or may, wag naman, no, worst comes to worst, no, yung may casualties, no, or may namatay, medyo alarming yun. It is a key risk already. No, meaning the working condition of the employees are not really of importance also to the organization. So medyo pangit yun, or that we have what we call reputational risk for that. Okay? Next, waste disposal is inconsistent with prevailing laws and regulation. So in connection doon sa ating third to the last bullet, so dapat let's say, for example, if we have concrete example, yung waste. Kunwari, we are manufacturing the diesel, no, the unleaded gas. Of course, nanggaling yan sa petroleum extracted from, kunwari, sa dagat or sa sa desert, no? Gutom na ako. Yun, dapat there should be a proper way for us to dispose this waste, no? Lalo na kung it will harm the environment. So, dapat tinitreat yan. Kung walang treat yan, there's a proper protocol also that can be followed by the organization according to the rules and regulations ng DENR. Okay? Now we go to the key issues na, no? Okay, wala pa tayo sa detailed issues. Mahaba to. Okay, with the key issues, ito yung pwede nating mga i-consider na factor, no? Siguro i-run through ko yung iba dito na pwedeng nang hindi ko explain. Okay, so first key issue is how does management ensure that the production and manufacturing requirements are accurately defined and suitably authorized. Okay, so yan dapat mong i-consider yan. Dapat there should be a policy and procedure in place, no, for us to make sure the production and manufacturing requirements consider the bill of materials, no, the forecast, no, and how is it authorized for consideration in the production requirements. Okay, next, what mechanisms ensure that authorized production, manufacturing requirements are effectively communicated to all affected parties and that suitable plans are agreed and implemented to meet the defined obligations. So, dapat may production schedule tayo. Kasi kung wala kang mechanism to ensure that the authorized requirements are effectively communicated to all affected parties through the production schedule at wala to, that is a key issue. Okay. Next, what processes ensure that all required resources and facilities such as the materials, staff, machines, and knowledge are available to meet the required production obligation. Okay, so dapat meron din tayong production schedule, the policies in place, the work orders, yung mga documents, no, to ensure that the resources and facilities are available. Okay, so dapat nandun yung mga documents. Of course, you have there the production requirements. Doon mo rin may kita yon. Okay, doon sa mga documents related also to the tawag dito production requirements, no. Then, how are actual progress and use of production facilities effectively monitored and problems and shortfalls and delays prevented, detected, and corrected. So, dapat, this question is actually helpful for you to check then kung meron bang quality control in place. So, ano pang pwedeng nitong i-address kung may policy in place. So, yan. You should also consider this one. Okay? So, next, what measures ensure that the required quantity of products is actually manufactured and accounted for? So, most likely, this will be answered by cost accounting and of course, with some of the documents na ginagamit natin such as the work orders and the production schedule. Okay? So, if there's a mechanism of if there are close production or close work orders na talagang close na siya based from the documents, then dapat makita natin yun dun sa file, no? What if nakalagay is open work order pa rin siya pero based from the production schedule tapos na siya, then that is a key issue. Okay? Next question. How does management ensure that the items produced conform to the required quality standards and that the defect rates are effectively monitored? So, dito dapat may makita kang tawag dun, statistical control charts, no? Remember, it's an audit tool also to check kung normal pa ba yung defect rates natin based from the policy. And if ever, pwede rin ito ma-address ng quality control. No, dapat may quality control procedures in place to know what products are acceptable or not, no, or what products can be reworked pa and alin yung mga products na if ever merong defects yung hindi na ma-rework, no. That should also be in place sa ating mga quality standards or procedures. Okay. Next, what measures does management take to minimize and avoid disruption of production caused by machine breakdown, poorly experienced staff, and absence of raw materials and components? So, kung in case may disruption, dapat tayo ay what? Laging handa. So, dapat meron tayong backup, no? Kunwari, if there is an absence of raw material, dapat meron tayong trusted supplier who can easily supply you raw materials. And if in case machine breakdown, dapat there should be a machine also that can, a supplier of that machine that can readily supply you such machine. Okay? Or pwede rin, no, kung siya ay magkaroon ng machine breakdown, pwede rin kasing iba-iba yan eh. Pwede rin there is a machine technician, no, or an engineer who can, fix the machine breakdown. So, yun, it's also a measure. Okay? Next, is the utilization of all resources such as materials and workforce fully accounted for, and would waste be identified promptly and appropriate action taken? Appropriate action taken, and how is this evidence? So for the first part, no, yung utilization of resources fully accounted for, we can account it for through the move tickets, and of course with the records in the cost accounting department. And in terms of waste that we can identify promptly, yun nga, there should be quality control team to check the product during its production stage. Now, for the evidence, it's most likely through preserving the rejected goods or waste, no, or just waste lang, no, dapat nape-preserve siya before it can be fully disposed of, and it should be well documented, no. If hindi siya na-documented and hindi siya fully account yung mga waste natin and all of the movement of the resources, then it's a key issue. Okay, the next is management kept informed of overall production performance and efficiency, and what evidence is there of corrective action being taken to address shortcomings. So, kung may mga shortcomings, ang pwede kasi nating evidence is kung may mga shortcomings, dapat ang management inform sila. If walang mechanism to inform them of any shortcoming or problem or issue during the production, then that is also a key issue. And if ever matake ng action agad ng management, dapat may evidence that that the management has taken an action and was able to correct it. Dapat naka-preserve din yung evidence na yun for documentation purposes. Okay? The last key issue is that what mechanisms ensure that compliance with all the prevailing legislations and regulation is confirmed. So, possibly, with regard to compliance with certain legislation and regulation, ang pwedeng mechanism for that is that there is a monitoring team. In other company, we have what we call compliance department to make sure that we are adhering to the rules and regulations. Okay? And through quality control also. Of course, yung quality control, chine-check ngayon kung yung ating service or yung ating product complies with the laws and regulation. No? Kumbaga naka-incorporate sa kanila rin yan. Okay? So, these are the key issues for the planning, production, and control. Okay? Now, we go to the detailed issues for planning, production, and control. So, ito parang pinahaba lang na version ng ating key issues. No? So, i-run through natin to, no? So, for the first detailed issue is that, are all amendments to customer orders, production requirements, forecast, etc. promptly and accurately identified and reported in order to modify the relevant production activities? Okay, so dapat reflective in here yung kunwari may mga hindi naman lahat pero most likely kung may mga change in mind yung ating customer, no, or there's a change in the sales forecast, dapat readily mo-modify natin yung production activities. Okay? Kung hindi natin mo-modify, no, in response sa ating changes, no, sa customer's order or forecast, then it's also an issue, no. Lalo na kung we see that there is kunwari, yung pandemic, 'di ba? We didn't know na ganun yung kanyang magiging effect sa business. Okay? So, kung walang proper response from the decline in demand sa ating product, then it's also an issue. So, dapat responsive yung ating production in terms of changes then. Okay? Next, what measures are in place to ensure that adequate and accurate information flows are established for all affected parties? So, we need also to check also yung ating communication lines. So, kunwari, if we are going to inform a certain problem or issue, dapat sa isang department na relevant or those department who will try to solve that kind of problem, no? Hindi dapat lahat ng parties or ng departments are involved. Certain departments lang, lalo na kung sila yung affected, and or kung when we say affected, yung relevant, no, yung kasama doon sa ating coordination ng activities among production teams. Okay? Next, how would an economic or unrealistic production runs be prevented? Okay, so need natin consider din yan, no. Sa din to, sa trends, no, or sa demands, baka mamaya bumaba, so paano natin ma-prevent yung production run? So there should be a proper timing, no, lalo na kung nakikita pababa yung demand. So might as well dapat nagre-respond din yung production planning and control natin sa pag-decline din ng ating production or manufacture of a product. Okay? Next, how would an authorized production activity be prevented or identified? Okay, so when we say be prevented or identified, kung walang production schedule na nakalagay or work order, that is an issue. Dapat lahat ng ating ipoproduce ay may corresponding work order at may corresponding production schedule. Okay? Next, how does management ascertain that the practical manufacturing implications of new product lines have been identified, assessed, and planned for? Okay, so eto, no, dapat yung ating new product line, so meaning possibly may new product offering tayo, dapat may procedures in place din tayo on how on how we should handle this kind of dealing. Okay? Kasi baka may sanay tayo sa ating process, tapos may dumating na new product, so inapprove ng board of directors and nag-go yung management, dapat planado ring maigi. Okay, kasi kung walang proper management, then it's possibly na medyo chaotic din yung ating introduce ng ating new product line. Okay? Next, are plant utilization records maintained, and would surplus capacity be identified and reacted to? So ito possible kunwari may excess capacity, meaning what we are actually producing is below the practical capacity. So dapat may measurement din tayo nun. Okay? If we have that kind of measurement, pwede tayo mag-react, do we need to reduce that facility or renting that facility? Pwede kasing ganun. Or pwede rin namang, if we have an excess capacity, can we accept special orders or orders from non-regular customer? So yun, dapat chine-check din yan. Okay? Next, how does management ensure that the layout of production line maximizes efficiency and avoids unnecessary movement and processes? So, related dun sa isang question natin sa key issue. No? Pero most likely, dapat meron tong approved design layout wherein there is maximization of efficiency. So, walang paligoy-ligoy dapat na galaw. So, lahat ng galaw are all essential. Okay? Next, what processes ensure that the correct flow of raw materials to the production area? So when say correct flow of raw materials, dapat may move tickets to. Kung walang move tickets or wala sa production schedule, then lalo na kung ang kanyang flow is isang department lang, multiple dapat, then there's already a problem with in terms of issuing move tickets, right? Okay. Next, are materials and components adequately protected from loss and damage in the production area? So dapat when we issue a production, or when we issue a material to the production, dapat segregated pa rin siya sa mga units na pinoproduce natin or minamanufacture natin. There should be a control or segregation, no? And if in case high value tung ating mga materials, dapat we prevent it or protect them from loss or damage. Lalo na kunwari we need to produce a wire wherein copper wire or silver wire is one of the materials. So dapat i-prevent din natin to from loss, no? So dapat may nakalagay na CCTV, dapat may nakalagay na may nagmo-monitor nito. Let's say for example, may security guard, so pwede 'yon. Okay, next, what steps are taken to avoid or minimize machine failures and downtime? So dapat may policy and procedure tayo for maintaining the condition of the machines, no, for us to avoid this kind of machine failures and downtime. Okay, next, is downtime recorded, attributed, and effectively monitored by the management, and how is this evidence? Again, dapat yung downtime may documentation nito, no? And dapat namo-monitor ng management in a way to check the condition of the machine. Kasi nga, if the condition of the machine is deteriorating exponentially, kunwari lang, over time, then might as well either may decision making ka dito. Would you still maintain it, or would you buy another machine? So, yun yung need natin consider dito. Next, what mechanisms ensure that the skills of the workforce are adequately maintained in line with the current requirements? So, what mechanisms? So, kung walang mechanisms, then wala tayong may issue tayo. Ngayon, kung may mechanisms tayo in place, let's say for example, meron tayong training, meron tayong production procedure, then it's not an issue. Okay? Next, are staff skills suitably balanced to provide adequate cover during holidays? So ito yung isa rin natin dapat tignan, no, na factor. Kunwari, kapag nag-holiday or may nagsabay-sabay na nag-leave, dapat meron tayong staff na readily we can have a backup in terms of pag nawala yung ating mga skilled workers, no? So possibly marami kang skilled workers, may mga certain assignment ka for each of the skilled worker. Yung skilled worker pwedeng mag-rotate. So in case, no, kung wala yung isang tao, at least knowledgeable isang tao na nag-operate na dati, na pwede niyang palitan yung person na yon, na in case na mag-leave siya or magkaroon ng holiday or magkasakit, may pwede tayong taong pumalit for that. So it's an alternative option. Okay? Next, would production delays be promptly detected? So kung may production delays tayo, dapat ma-detect niyan saan? Sa production schedule. So that production schedule should be able to help you to check kung tayo ay may delay na, no? Aside from checking the production schedule, dapat tinitingnan natin yung work order natin. Okay. Next, are all finished goods accounted for and trailed into the stock control system? So dapat dito meron tayong mechanism na chine-check, or dapat nagre-record tayo sa ating finished goods inventory master file for tracking of the goods that are already manufactured and not yet sold to the customer. Okay. Next, are all damaged, spoiled, scrap, and rejected items identified, authorized, and accounted for? So remember, in the production, no, lalo na sa cost accounting, kung naalala nyo, di ba? Meron tayong mga spoiled goods, so dapat accounted properly yan. No? Dapat na-identify through the quality control, na authorize siya for disposal or rework, and account siya. Kung in case siya ay rework, dapat maging good item to. Kung siya ay scrap, dapat dispose to. So, dapat na-account sa cost accounting, right? Next, how can management be assured that all production activities are adequately costed and that reliable product costings are generated? So, how management can be assured? Through what? Cost accounting. Diba, remember, in cost accounting, we are what? Accumulating the cost or pulling the cost. We are what? Assigning this cost, and we were able to what? To generate the cost for each cost object. So in this case, product costing. Through the cost accounting, we can identify or determine or calculate what is the component for the direct material cost, for the direct labor cost, and overhead cost. So yan, dito yan kino-consider. Okay? And then we have would uneconomic products or production runs be preventive or promptly detected? So parang naulit to. So dapat nakikita rin natin yung mga uneconomic product or production runs. So we can actually monitor it through the production schedule and the work order din. Of course, with the production schedule, you have planned there ano yung number of products na inaasahan mo produce from that kind of materials na binili mo. Now, with the overruns, no, malalaman natin yan sa work order. Baka may mga excess order ka na you need, excess order, baka may mga overruns ka na you need to also amend or change the bill of material kasi baka mamaya gumagamit lang talaga ng less materials, edi mas efficient, right? So dapat na-detect yun. Okay. Next, no, our machine utilization and performance statistics accurately produced, circulated and reacted to. So dapat yung machine utilization mo as much as possible, dapat lagi yan syempre may room for error yan. So dapat 95% nagagamit mo yung machine. If ever no siya ay declining na yung ating use, nagdeteriorate na yung ating output na naproproduce from that machine, then most likely there's already an issue with regard to the utilization of the machine. It's possible it's also an effect of not having preventive maintenance over these machines. Okay? Next, are employee productivity levels effectively monitored? So, hindi naman, with regard to employee productivity, that is based from the, what do you call this one? The job tickets, no? Na dapat, every employee have what we call the time record. So, dapat doon may kita natin kung effectively ba, nagtatrabaho ba ng maigi yung ating employee? Is the employee rendering the acceptable working hours for each of the products produced, no? Dapat tinitingnan natin yung productivity level nila. Next, does management periodically evaluate the adequacy of production facilities? So, every now and then, as much as possible, lalo na kung nag-expand, no? Baka mamaya kasi nag-expand yung operations organization pero yung production facility stay the same, then the production facility is actually overused, no? Or may hindi naman over capacity. There's a lacking capacity na, no? Kasi baka may working conditions sa tao magkaroon ng problem kasi nga dikit-dikit na sila, no? Given nga yung pandemic, pwedeng ganon. Pwede rin kasing baka mamaya yung product ma-compromise na rin yung quality kasi nga sobrang gamit na gamit yung production facility. Instead of having 80 employees working there, ginawa na nilang 200. So, kamusta naman yung product, di ba? So, dapat there's also an evaluation of the adequacy of the production facility. Next, how does management confirm compliance with all the relevant health and safety regulation? So, meaning dapat na yung mga reports tayong sinasubmit sa DNR, lalo na if we are producing harmful waste to the environment. So, dapat meron tayong sinusunod na health and safety regulation. Now, again, for the ordinary companies, dapat yung minimum requirements, dapat may fire extinguisher, dapat merong fire exits, dapat well-ventilated yung rooms. So, yan. It's also a health and safety regulation. Next, how does management remain aware of the relevant regulations and keep to update. So it's possible that the company or the organization have lawyers to check if may mga regulation na bago lalo na baka mamaya relevant naman din sa ating organization. So dapat there's also a mechanism to check if there are any updates in the relevant regulation, or yung tao or yung point person na mag-check kung may mga bagong issuances yung ating regulators. And then next, how would violations of regulations be detected? Now, for the violations of the regulations, it's possible for the internal auditors, no, or even the management kasi to that there should be a lawyer or a legal personnel who can check kung may mga regulations tayo na nava-violate. So, it's possible inquiries of the regulator na ginagawa ng lawyer. So, pwedeng ganun. It's possible din na if there are any tawag dito, monitoring of articles or of news about the company, yun, it's possible na makita natin kung may violation tayo ng regulation. Doon natin ma-detect yun. Okay? Next, have realistic and workable contingency and disaster plans been established, and are they regularly tested for their effectiveness? Now, ito sinasabi natin, kung may mga disruption sa organization, kunwari, earthquake, dapat may disaster recovery plan or DRP. In case, yun nga, magkaroon ng pagbaha, paglindol, at least we are well prepared na we can go back to the normal operations ng negosyo. No, we can work kunwari sa ibang facility, no, or sa cold site or sa hot site, no, it will depend. Now, second to the last, no, how is the accuracy of the data input from other systems confirmed, such as the sales order and planning? So it's more of processing control. So dapat yung ating input from other, ang ating data input as an output from other system dapat consistent and accurate. So there should be a processing controls in place, no? Pwedeng ang tawag doon, record totals, no? Kung naalala nyo pa yun, no? Yung mga controls over processing controls, no, sa ating accounting information system. Okay? So dapat meron ganung mechanism. Then lastly, how is the accuracy of data outputs to other systems confirmed? So kunwari, tinitingnan na naman natin yung data output. So dapat consistent siya sa recording ng iba, such as the time recording to the payroll. So kung consistent siya, kung there's a reconciliation between the two and there's no difference, then accurate yung ating data output. Kung meron, tingnan natin, no, possibly may explanation yon, no. Pero kung siya yung explanation na not really a normal one, no, or happening, no, most likely it's a finding or an exception. Okay? So that's for the planning, production, and control. So now we go to the inventory.